It's time for the Phil Ferguson Show, only on Secular Media Network.
Well, hello everybody. This is Phil Ferguson, and you are listening to The Phil Ferguson Show. This is show number 157, and apparently some people have noticed that I'm late getting the show out. I try to do the show about once a week, and sometimes early in the week, but this time I am definitely running behind. I just spent 5 days in Space Coast, Florida, around Cocoa Beach, that area. Had some family issues we had to take care of, so I didn't get a whole lot of fun time, but I did get a few hours in the sun, so I actually have a February tan. So for us northern folk, we have to be careful when you go down south. I got pink one day from about an hour and a half, 2 hours in the sun, so I get burned pretty easily, but I managed it just right, got a little tan while I was gone. And like I said, I'm a little bit behind schedule, but the nice thing is that I do have a wonderful, wonderful interview you're going to love. It is with Helaine Olen, and she is an author, and she has several books out, but the two that are real relevant to this show, in 2012, she published Pound Foolish, Exposing the Dark Side of the Personal Finance Industry. And I loved this book. If you want to know a little bit more about how things work, check that book out. We're going to talk about some of the things in the interview, but of course, with only an hour, we can only touch a little bit, or I guess 30, 40 minutes, we can only touch some of what was in the book. If you want to know more about kind of what's behind the curtain and how things work, of course, we'll talk about some of them here, but that was a fun book to read. And the newer book that came out just a few weeks ago is called The Index Card: Why Personal Finance Doesn't Have to Be Complicated. And both of these books, I agree with 90% plus of what we talked about. So if you want to get some fun reads, well written, very easy to read, check those out. They are Pound Foolish and The Index Card, and we'll have that interview a little bit later in the show. Some updates for you. Of course, the Reason Rally is coming up, and for my regular listeners, you know that I am on the board of directors for the Reason Rally. The main page to go is reasonrally.org if you want to find out what's going on, when, and where. That is the official location of the most current news, and the website's been updated because it was really bad, really bad. So far we have Cara Santa Maria, James Randi, John DeLance. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. He played Q in Star Trek as long as many other TV shows. Julia Sweeney, Kelly Carlin, who is the daughter of George Carlin. And we also have Killa Priest, rapper and associate with the Wu-Tang Clan. Lawrence Krauss, Paul Provenza, Richard Dawkins, if he's able to travel. Eugenie Scott, Miriam Namazi, Margaret Cho, and Yvette Detremont, who is Cybabe. So that is who was announced. The fun thing for me is I know of others that are not officially announced yet, and I wish I could share with you, but you're going to be excited. So go check out reasonrally.org and get your tickets and hotels now before you can. Another fun bit of news I just saw published a few hours before I did this podcast in The Independent, the United Kingdom website. The headline, Homeopathy Effective for 0 out of 68 Illnesses, Study Finds. And so it's a big meta-analysis of a whole bunch of different studies and a whole bunch of different homeopathic drugs. And guess what? It doesn't work. It doesn't do anything for anyone. The only value it has is as a placebo. And, of course, as soon as you know that, that's pretty much eliminated too. So, surprise, surprise to my regular listeners, homeopathy does not work at all. Also coming up for me, the first weekend in March, I will be in Nashville, Tennessee, a little conference there. And the first weekend in April, I will be in Fayetteville, Arkansas. So if you're in one of those areas or looking for a conference, please check it out. Just do a little Google search, and you can get all the information you want. Of course, you could always email me, phil@polarisfinancialplanning.com. I forgot to say, this is show number 157, and not only do we have the interview a little later on, we also have our Investing Skeptically topic today. If you're new to the show, and thank you to all the listeners who are coming over from the Thinking Atheist podcast, if you're new to the show, it's 1 part finance and 2 parts atheism. And when I first started the show, they told me that that's not how podcasts work. You can't do that. And my attitude was basically, I don't give a fuck. It's what I want to do. Oh, by the way, I can swear in my show. So hopefully you enjoy that and don't find that too bothersome. But if you do, whatever. Like I said, show number 157. And the Investing Skeptically topic today is about IRAs, Roth IRAs. It is the late February. You can still add money to your 2015 IRA or Roth IRA accounts. Do not miss out on this opportunity if you have the funds available. If not, you've got to work on that to figure out how to save more, because that's the road to retirement. I have talked to several new people that listen to the show, and they've told me that they love the way that I phrase how much you should save. So I will repeat it. Saving 10% I consider to be the suck-ass minimum. You really want to shoot for 20%. 10% will take you about 40 years, maybe a little longer if you take into account inflation and ignore Social Security. I think it's going to be there. Will it be as generous as it is today? I don't know. It's going to be tough. So you want to try to get closer to 20%. That's how you want to save. If your employer makes a 401k match, great. You want to make sure you get all that free money. But you can, of course, save for yourself. And if you're married, your spouse, significant other, money in your IRAs and or Roth IRAs. And one of the problems people sometimes have, I have clients that are, dare I say it, blessed enough that they make too much money and they don't qualify for a deductible traditional IRA, and they also do not qualify for putting money into a Roth IRA, which is non-deductible. For 2016, if you are single, the most you could make is between $117,000 and $132,000 for the phase out, and above $132,000, you can put no money into a Roth IRA. If you are married filing jointly, those numbers are $184,000 to $194,000. So if your combined income is below that, you're set, and you can put in $5,500 into a Roth IRA. An additional $1,000 is allowed if you are over the age of 50. So that's called the catch-up contribution. Not like ketchup and mustard. That just popped into my head. But the catch-up contribution. So you can add a little bit more. So think about those numbers. But if you make over $184,000 to $194,000, you are not able, as a married couple, to put money into a Roth IRA. So I wanted to tell you about a little secret. It's called the Backdoor Roth IRA. So what you basically do is you set up a traditional non-deductible IRA, and you put in $5,500 or more if you're over 50, and then you immediately convert the non-deductible IRA contribution to a Roth IRA. So no matter how much you make, you can still put money into your Roth IRA. Is it worth doing? It depends. The first thing that I normally tell people if they ask me about this, or when I tell them about that they're interested, is that I will insist that you have a CPA, someone helping you fill out your taxes, and that you're not just doing it with a $49 program, and that you talk to them before you consider doing this to make sure they are okay with it. I do not do taxes. I will not be responsible if you fuck it up. It's really easy, but there's a few steps, and if you do it wrong, there could be penalties. So make sure you have your CPA on board and that they pre-approve of this idea. And that is a way you could save more money from the tax man, and you can put that money into the Roth IRA. And under current law, never, ever, ever pay tax on that money again. So that's some information about IRAs this week. I'm going to keep it short because the interview is about finance too. So this is a 100% kind of investing show. So I hope you enjoy, and I'll talk to you when we're done with the interview.
Here's an excerpt from Mum, Dad, I'm an Atheist by David G. McAfee.
It is the same highly regarded concept of an afterlife that allows misguided religious people to justify the mistreatment of those who disagree with their religious ideologies. They are simply trying to protect you from eternal damnation in the afterlife by condemning you, insulting you, and even disowning you in this life. It is not to say that becoming open about your disbelief is always going to be met with these negative reactions, and, in fact, that is precisely what this work is hoping to prevent. But it is important to understand that if you experience negative reactions from religious kin, it is probably a result from the religion's teachings, and likely not from any personal vendetta or hatred.
Mom, Dad, I'm an Atheist by David G. McAfee is now available at atheistaudiobooks.com.
Only on Secular Media Network.
All right, everybody, welcome back. This is Phil Ferguson, and of course, you are listening to The Phil Ferguson Show. I am so, what should I say, super excited, not because my next guest agrees with me on virtually everything, although I think we can find some things to disagree about if we really try, but that is the case with most humans. She has written 2 books, at least, and maybe I'll be corrected here, about finance and investing. The most recent one, I think, is Pound Foolish, or was it the index card one? We'll find out in a second. Helaine Olen is here. Hello, Helaine. How are you?
Good. And the most recent one is the index card, which I co-wrote with Harold Pollack at the University of Chicago.
As soon as I said
personal
that,
finance doesn't have to be complicated.
Yep.
Pound Foolish is my previous book, which I love dearly and will yap about endlessly. So thank you for mentioning it.
Oh, not a problem. I was just listening to Pound Foolish right before we got on the air here at double speed because I'd already listened to the whole thing. And I say that both of these books can easily go on my recommended reading list, which is not very long, by the way, so kudos to you.
Well, thank you.
The other books I normally recommend is Richest Man in Babylon for the beginners, John Bogle's on Common Sense on Mutual Funds, and Random Walk.
Which are all great books. So
I think so, and I'm always about education, and we were talking a little bit about that in our pre-show. So how did you get started in this whole thing?
Well, years and years ago, I moved to LA with my husband, and I was doing freelance journalism. And one day around Christmas, a couple of weeks before Christmas, I get a call from someone I know at the big paper in town. Now, understand, call before Christmas means they're desperate for freelancers, and they'll take anybody at that point.
And you ask for more, right?
We Jewish girls know that this is a great time of the year to work, right?
Yeah.
So they said, oh, do you know anything about personal finance? We need someone to sub in on the Money Makeover feature, which was the personal finance column. And all I knew about personal finance could be summed up as it paid a lot better than any other form of writing besides TAC. And I'm not kidding around. Like, I really did not know the difference between a mutual fund and Mutual of Omaha at this point. So, of course, I think this is a great reason to say, yes, I'll do this.
Right.
And I thought, oh, I'll do one of these, and they'll hate me forever, and I'll get a check for double my usual fee, and that'll be the end of everything. And I take this assignment, and I go off and do it, and because I don't know what I'm doing, and I mean I really don't know what I'm doing, like, I am writing down, as the financial advisor on the piece is like saying things like annuities, right? I'm writing it down and trying to look like a reporter when in fact the real plan is to go home and look up the meaning of the word in a copy of Personal Finance for Dummies that evening.
Sure.
I start asking the subject of the piece about her money goals and what she wants in life and her money memories and all that sort of stuff, right? Because I figure I got to fluff this thing out with something. This is back in the old days before the internet. This is the late 90s. So